So welcome. How many of you were here yesterday when I did a panel during the opening session? A few of you? Okay, I gave you a little bit of a preview of what I'm going to talk about and show today. First of all, this is a great expression that I love to show people. I just think it's so funny. Obviously, it has historic value from The Wizard of Oz, and I believe that we are going into stereoscopic 3D in a number of different media, and we're not going to go back. So I like to show people that. The world is not flat. Another great expression. It's kind of a funny expression, but as most of you know from sitting through the sessions the last couple of days and from, I'm assuming, general interest in 3D, you know that we have two eyes and we see depth. And the big question in this day and age is, why is our digital media on flat surfaces? It doesn't really need to be. Because it's digital, we can now do 3D in a very controlled, very effective way, from capture to editing to exhibition to see it on TV screens. It's very, very effective. The world is not flat. It never has been flat. And our digital media is going to stop being flat very soon. I'll just let you guys read this. So this is Claudia Day, who has written a manual on how to get lucky, and one of her top 10 most important parts of foreplay, one of which she said is 3D glasses. So you'll be very, very excited to hear that it's actually getting sexier and sexier every day. So obviously in 3D we've been fighting 50 years of bad PR from the 50s. People think that everything has to come flying off the screen at you. It's not really about horror films, as you know. And what I'm going to talk about today, I'm a film director, I'm a producer director, and what I'm going to talk about today is what is appearing to be a secret sauce that 3D has. Everyone has wondered, is there something about 3D that will hypnotize people and convince them that, whatever we're selling in 3D is better than 2D? And I'm here to tell you that, yes, there is a little secret sauce. So this is me. If anybody is tweeting, that's the hashtag, and also hashtag 3D and OCE if anyone is tweeting. I spoke at the TED conference this year in California, and a lot of people were tweeting live. The most tweeted about moment was when I said 3D increases retention. Everybody was like, really? So that was, and online, if you go and search your tweets, you can see the spike. So it's very interesting to go minute by minute. And as soon as I said 3D retention is highly increased over 2D retention in advertising and education, people were like, oh my God, that's incredible. So that's what I'm here to talk about today. So I think everyone has probably seen Avatar. Very interesting thing happened, and I will say up front, I'm not a scientist, I'm not a doctor, I'm a filmmaker. So this is mostly data that I have, people have given me and said, this is real. A lot of people blogged about Avatar, saying that they went through withdrawals after seeing Avatar. Some people said they wanted to go to Pandora, and they were feeling depressed after seeing it. These are the fanboys, people who saw it multiple times. I thought, well, that's really crazy. Someone should do a study about that. I did not experience that, but a lot of people were blogging about depression, and after having seen Avatar and immersing themselves in this 3D experience, that they were feeling at a bit of a loss. So we know we have two eyes. We know that kids have a smaller interocular distance between their eyes. They see 3D slightly different than adults. They love animated films, and they're about to love commercials and all kinds of other digital media that's going to go 3D from a marketing point of view. So is 3D advertising better than 2D advertising? That's what people ask me a lot, because I do commercials, I do a variety of different kinds of things, but primarily commercials. And ad agencies, they want to hear that 3D is better than 2D. So they say, you know, is it better? Is it going to sell my product better? Is it going to, people are going to remember it more? Like, is there any quantitative data that says if we spend more on 3D, will people buy our product more or remember it? So I'm going to do a little test. There's audio with this. 2D commercial.
We gave it the power of a supercar. Then we gave it the precision of a Lexus. And in turn, wrote a new definition of what's possible for an automobile. This is the pursuit of the impossible. This is the pursuit of perfection.
So it's a commercial in 2D. Kind of interesting. So we did a version of this commercial in 3D, which we're now going to look at in stereoscopic 3D. So if you can put your glasses on.
We gave it the power of a supercar. Then we gave it the precision of a Lexus. And in turn, wrote a new definition of what's possible for an automobile. This is the pursuit of the impossible. This is the pursuit of perfection.
So, does anybody like the commercial better in 2D? Anybody? Don't be shy. You know. Does anybody like it better in 3D? So it's very interesting. Nobody lifted up their hands. I don't know if it's just the pressure. No one said they liked it better in 2D. Everybody said it looks better in 3D. I believe it's just a better spot in 3D for a number of reasons. So now we're going to show you a bunch of other commercials that we've done, and we'll talk about those as well in a few minutes. Sorry, this is our little demo, so there's a logo every once in a while.
When I grow up, I want to be a firefighter.
When I grow up,
I want to be a paramedic.
I want to be a police officer. But I'm scared.
But I'm scared.
I worry about the hours.
I worry about the hours.
I worry about the effect it will have on my life.
On my family.
I worry.
I worry.
I don't want to be a hero.
I just want to help people.
I'm just trying to help out.
Give something back.
I just want to do my job.
I worry about the stress.
Critical incident stress.
I get flashbacks.
I can't sleep. I can't sleep.
Why do I feel this way?
Why do I feel this way? Why can't I help it?
When I grow up, I want there to be a support network.
For people like me.
And me.
And me.
And me.
Help us. Help you.
So these next two spots were converted from 2D to 3D. So by all means, close one eye and you'll see it in 2D. Open two eyes, you'll see it in 3D. And you can judge for yourself whether it's better to produce it in 3D or not. This is a clip of a Toyota piece we did in native 3D. So you see there's a lot more detail than the converted footage.
Cold, windy street. I put my feet in the snow, I'm floating back home to you. I can see the fires glowing, and it's enough. It's more than anything I could dream of. And that song, and every year it comes along.
Okay, and we're just going to play one more just because we're here.
Hello? Hey. Hold on a minute. Hey. Yeah, sorry about that. What were you saying?
I'm gonna have to text you.
Movies don't interrupt you. Please, no talking or texting during the film.
Okay, so overwhelmingly in the room, you guys said that you liked the 3D commercial better than the 2D commercial. This is actual data from 3D commercials done by NCM, which is the largest cinema advertising company in the US. This one is not the Lexus Spot. This is a consumer electronics product, a 3D TV. 48% of the people remembered the ad. 81% said the 3D was better than the 2D. So less than us. So pretty well 100% of the people here said it was better. 80% of the viewers said it was more memorable than the 2D ad. So this is the same ad shown to a 2D audience, shown to an audience in 2D, and then shown to another audience in 3D. And then 60% were more likely to purchase the product when they saw it in 3D. So, oh, I'm sorry, I apologize. This is actually the Lexus Spot that you ran. These are the numbers from the actual Lexus Spot. So the commercial that you saw was tested in cinemas with real audiences, and they essentially had a 15% bump up in the ad liking, the desire to buy the product, and how much they remembered the product. And that's quite significant, because in the advertising world, you don't normally get that kind of a bump up unless you win the lottery. You have a piece of humor that people just cannot stop laughing at and laugh for days about. Or if you have some kind of campaign that completely ignites people's senses. And that's so rare. So the fact that you could actually do it with a relatively small investment, either converting your spot to 3D or shooting in native 3D, is really quite revolutionary. This is similar. This is a consumer electronics product, a 3D television. So these numbers are even higher. 92% remembered the ad. 82% said it's better in 3D than 2D. 80% said it was more memorable. 68% increased the liking. So there's different categories of the survey. Did you like the ad? Did you remember the ad? Do you want to buy the product? This is what people want to hear. Ad agencies and marketers want to hear this, and it's quite incredible. I thought it must be true, but to actually see the numbers, it's quite unbelievable. So this is the actual survey data. So as we bore closer into it, did it call to your attention? You know, this is a lengthy survey that the customers have to fill out. Did it call your attention? 45% said yes, it called my attention. 40% said it called my attention a lot. So that's a total of 80% said it called their attention versus 63% in the 2D. Did you like it? 56% said they liked it. 38% said they liked it a lot. And that's significant compared to the 2D people who responded by saying, 58% thought it was unique, 53% thought it was interesting, entertaining. They didn't say they liked it a lot. Is the format interesting in public places? Do you like 3D? Do you want to see 3D? Do you think it's a good medium for communicating with people? 44% thought it was interesting. 51% said it was very interesting. So that's a total of 90%. So 10% probably said, no, I think it sucks, or I don't think it's interesting. So this is just, there was no 2D version of that because it was just a question about 3D. And these are all independent studies. They're all Googleable. So next up, last year ESPN showed the World Cup in 3D. They had 4 commercials that ran continuously. Gillette, I forget what the others. I think Sony, obviously they sponsored it. There was a bunch. And they said, you know what, while we do this, we're going to do a survey. We're going to see what the increase in interest for our clients is by doing 3D. And they've clearly have a vested interest, but they had an independent study done. So queued recall went up 15%, 2D versus 3D. Purchase intent went up 34% in this case. Ad liking went up 17%. And this is not by spending $10 million on an additional media buy. This is by spending a very small amount to either convert or shoot native 3D. Good question. What does it cost? So it's a good question. It does vary, and I don't like to be vague about it, but it depends on what you're doing. It depends on the kind of budget you have. Original production is a good guess is 10 to 25% more. It is more to shoot 3D, and you want to spend more time to do it. CG is about 10% more if you're creating, jelly beans in 3D. It's a bit more than doing them in 2D, but it's not substantial. Conversion is a bit more of a wild card, but it's about $50,000 to $100,000 potentially to convert a commercial, to do it properly. My opinion is there's no quick way to convert something and have it look effectively. You saw converted material earlier, and I won't tell you what's converted and what isn't, but hopefully you can't tell. So is it worth it for a marketer or a client or an ad agency to spend $50,000 to $100,000 to increase the recall by 15%? It's not a small amount of money, but it is a bit of a dream for everybody to sell their products and have people remember it. So on a production of $300,000 to $2 million, is it worth spending $100,000 or $50,000 on a spot? You can see how it's pretty easy to add a line item saying we're going to increase the uptake on the commercial by 15%. Or on the media buying side, a commercial, the media buying would be $1 million to $5 million if it's in the US. So now you see that what the ad spend is, it's a teeny, teeny, teeny amount to get 15% more interest in your commercial or your product.
I don't want any talk about buying a television set.
Ralph, why can't we have a television set? The Nortons are on their second one. We haven't even had our first one yet. Why do you always have to be so cheap?
Cheap? Cheap? Is that why you think I won't get your set because I'm cheap? Well, that shows how much you know.
All right, what is the reason?
Do you want to know the reason?
Yeah.
You want to know the reason?
Yeah.
The reason? All right, I'll tell you the reason. I'm waiting for 3D television. That's the reason.
So Ralph thinks it's never going to happen. He says, I'm waiting for 3D television. And after that, she says, are you waiting for a 3D refrigerator too? So 3D television is here. As you know, you can go down to Best Buy and you can buy a 3D television. Not that many TVs have been sold, but they are selling now. 2 days ago, there were some numbers. The sales of televisions are up so far this year 500% over last year. So 5 times a small amount is not a huge amount, but it is increasing very quickly. They sold in last year 6 million TVs worldwide that were 3D. It took HD 6 years to get to that number. So it's a highly accelerated number. You will all own a 3D TV. You're not going to have a choice. The chip makers are putting them in. You don't have to turn it on. You don't have to push the button. You can still watch 2D, but you'll have a 3D TV, just like you will have an HD TV if you don't have one yet. You're not going to be able to buy a non-3D TV in 10 years. So with glasses, eventually without. This technology does exist. It will happen. Right now, it's just not really ready for prime time. It's very expensive, and to do it properly for multiple viewing is tricky. It does exist, though, right now, and you are seeing it in places like Times Square and auto stereo screens. So marketers and advertisers are going to realize very quickly, once there's eyeballs on television, which is still driving a lot of marketing, they're going to see that having auto stereo screens in public places and 3D TVs in the home is a very valuable place to advertise. And I think, ironically, mobile and tablet 3D will probably happen in a bigger way before television. It seems like mobile is happening this summer, and some tablets are coming out this summer, and I think, ironically, tablet without glasses will probably be wider spread than television in the next 12 months. So, not only in advertising, but also in education, there's been some very, very interesting studies that have come out. The first one was a study done by Texas Instruments in Chicago, where they took 1,000 students, they showed them a biology class dissecting a frog in 2D, and then they put on 3D glasses and they showed them 3D content. And the test scores increased, depending on this class, 29 to 35%, the same content in 3D, which is incredible, unbelievable. If you can teach kids and they will retain and score 35% higher because of some little magic glasses that they put on, why wouldn't you do that? So if you can get a customer to buy your car 15% more often for an investment of $100,000, why wouldn't you do that? So the impact of 3D is pretty remarkable. I think we all know what the human eye looks like. This is what a human eye looks like. And we're now going to look at what a human eye looks like in 3D. You may be surprised at what it really looks like. So put your glasses on.
Vein in the region of the lamina cribosa.
You can turn the sound down.
The occluded vessel deprives surrounding.
This is a project we did with Cornell University. This is animation based on real patient data. This is what the human eye looks like. This is what the layers of the human eye look like in 3D. It's obviously CG, but this is actually a hole, and the light is projected on the back of your eye. And then this is animation that we did. So until you see that animation, you don't really realize what the human eye really looks like. You think that, yeah, you have a retina, yeah, there's light projected somewhere, but until you see that animation, you really don't see it. And in 2D, it's a very different experience. So this was a project we did for a pharmaceutical company. The pharmaceutical industry, the medical industry, I know there's some people here from medical imaging, very, very interested in stereoscopic content and the impact it has on people. Okay, that's good. We can go back to the PowerPoint now. The next study, which is very recent, out of the UK, 2 schools, the Abbey School in Reading, the Embrook School in Wokingham, UK. 1,000 students in the first one, which were primarily A-level students, what are called digital natives, which are kids that have had access to digital media from a very young age. The second school, Embrook, is a comprehensive school, and the ages were roughly the same. Comprehensive is British for non-private school. So I think 2 different kinds of kids, overachievers and, let's say, regular achievers. So they did a study where they took a plant cell. The exercise was we're talking about plants, it's biology. We're going to draw a plant cell. So 2D class and 3D class. And the difference was the 2D class, after learning how to do after learning about 2D and 3D, all the kids were told, now create a plant cell. So the kids that had learned about it in 2D, they drew it on a flat piece of paper. This is what a cell looks like, it's flat. And they were all given the same amount of sort of creative tools, craft paper and things like that. And the kids that were in the class that had learned and seen the footage in 3D, they created volumetric cells. So they created things that were round and actually had volume to it, as opposed to on a flat surface. So you can see how the kids would just learn differently and understand the volume in the same way you looked at that eye. Now you know what an eye looks like. You're never going to look at an eye the same way. It's not just a round ball that has this thing on the front of it. It's actually a sphere that has this hole right in the middle of it to allow light to enter. They did another test, same school, with the human ear, and the mean scores for the kids that learned it in 2D were much lower than the kids that learned it in 3D. They also found out some very interesting things, which were the kids were more engaged, the kids were better behaved in 3D, The teachers enjoyed teaching the class a lot more in 3D, and it was overall just a better learning experience, which obviously led to better learning. These are some of the quotes from the kids as well as the teachers. So this was done also, this was by Texas Instruments and Expand, who provide the glasses for you today. They participated in this. You see they have these Expand glasses on. So I think what we're going to see in the educational world is we're going to see the deployment of inexpensive stereoscopic projectors for teaching classes in 3D. It's very, very, very interesting. So, what shouldn't be shot in 3D? I used to say something shot on a wall should not be shown in 3D. Whenever we're shooting something, and if we have to shoot a shoot a TV screen that's flat, well, guess what? It's not a great 3D shot. You can shoot it in 2D because it's going to be 2D in your film. I used to say anything that takes place on a flat surface should not be shot in 3D. Then this year, Werner Herzog made a film called Cave of Forgotten Dreams, shot on a wall. I'm going to show you a clip of that right now. So you can roll. This is the last clip. This is in 3D. Put your glasses on. You can turn the volume down a little bit. So again, these are the world's oldest cave paintings. And the reason he wanted to shoot in 3D is because you see the wall is curved. And the storytelling on these 30,000-year-old paintings incorporates the curves on the walls. So you can close one eye. Everybody close one eye. You still see the cave paintings. But if you slowly open both eyes, when there's actually an image, when you actually open both eyes, you realize it's just way better in 3D. It's that simple. It's just better in 3D. You know, the world is not flat. You can walk around with one eye closed, and we can watch content that is flat and will still have a certain level of impact. But it seems the data is showing that it's just simply better in 3D. All right, we can probably take that off now. So I think that moving forward, people will enjoy looking at stereoscopic content, whether it be advertising, movies, digital content on a tablet in stereoscopic 3D, the same way everyone is seeing the world in stereoscopic 3D. So, any questions?
Hello, hi. Thank you for that. It's for those of us making content, it's obviously very interesting because we always have trouble raising the money. So if there are good financially compelling reasons, whether from sponsorship or in commercials or that, it's very useful. The film that I'm currently making, we got a very large National Science Foundation grant, and so for those of you who are interested in this topic, part of the grant is to actually study for an IMAX 3D film the 2D versus 3D educational sort of retention and comprehension. So we're going to be running some tests next year just to add to this data. But one of the things I find very interesting is, which isn't addressed in what you presented very clearly, is why, and why the greater retention. And just my completely unscientific knee-jerk reaction is there could be several reasons, one of which is the fact that it's different. So if you show me something 40 different ways and one of them is different, I'm going to remember the different one much more likely because it's different. So on the other hand, I think one of the other reasons is that you have to physically engage in a way with 3D that you don't physically engage to the same extent with 2D. And I think that's a very positive reason why there's more retention, because you're actually just more actively engaged in the experience. And it's just like I find when I write something down, I remember it. If I don't write it down, I'm less likely to remember it because I performed an action in relation to that thing.
That's right.
that brings some memory. But I wonder, with the first comment I made, that to the extent that it's because it's different, it will be very interesting over the next 10 years with greater and greater penetration to see whether that level of 3D retention goes down by a factor related to the penetration and adoption of 3D, and whether once it becomes more and more normal, then it's just another thing and I just saw it and so what the hell. So that would just be, I think, in terms of those studying this area, very interesting over the next 10 years.
Yeah, I agree. And if you, you know, if you're a casual observer of the movie ticket sales, people overwhelmingly pick the 3D version of the film over the 2D version of the film. That's not to say every film, because it's in 3D, is going to do huge numbers. There are still terrible films that will do terribly at the box office because nobody wants to see them, 2D or 3D. But even within those small numbers, people overwhelmingly choose 3D over 2D. And as Jonathan says, maybe that's now because it's new. And I don't know if anyone ever studied SD to HD. You know, now we see a lot of HD. We don't see everything in HD yet, but you know, within a few years we will. You know, is the first time you saw HD, you probably went, "Wow, this is amazing! This is incredible amount of detail." Similarly, when the first time you see 3D, you go, "Wow, this is unbelievable." So it'll be interesting to see in 10 years when, if and when everything is in 3D, if these numbers trail off. Certainly in the movies, we're starting to see it trail off already. A terrible film in 3D is still a terrible film. You know, and that's a whole other discussion.